everyone, my name is Miss Ashley from Fibo Kids Art Academy, and welcome to another amazing art class. Today we're going to be learning how to color and animate character using the iPad app called Procreate. For a list of supplies, be sure to check the description of this video. Let's go ahead and get started. So here is our anime character that we're going to be drawing today, but we're actually going to be starting with drawing our character on paper first, and then we'll bring that picture into Procreate. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my iPad to the side, and what I want you to do is to get out a nice fresh piece of paper. It doesn't have to be any kind of specific paper, just as long as it is white. And we're just going to go right ahead and step into our drawing. I want you to make sure that you're using a pencil, but I'll be using a Sharpie so you can see my lines. Now, it really doesn't matter what orientation you do have your paper. I do prefer the vertical though, just because I want to make sure that my character is tall enough. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be drawing that side of the face to the chin by drawing a slanted line on the left and a slanted line on the right. So this is going to be the side of the head. And make sure it is pretty even on both sides, because we're going to bring this curved line down to the chin on both sides. Now again, make sure you are using a pencil. All right, we'll go ahead and draw those ears next by drawing a letter C and a backwards C. All right, now anime characters normally have really large eyes. I actually like to start off with a circle first, and then I make those adjustments when I start to ink. So right now, with your pencil, just draw those big circles for the eyes. Because we'll go in and add the eyeliner and making sure that we don't fill in our entire circle later on. But we do need to draw another circle inside. And again, this might look a little bit silly, but it will make more sense when we do start. Then we're going to draw a small circle for that highlight. The highlight is where the eye reflects the light. And then a circle behind that. All right, looks a little silly, doesn't it? No worries though, it will make more sense once we do start to ink. I'm going to add an eyebrow above those circles, and then an eyelid. All right, so there's those really big eyes. For that nose, it needs to be really small, so I actually like to just draw a little tiny line there and a sideways V. And then we'll have that large mouth by first starting off like this. Again, this looks a little bit strange, doesn't it? But once we finish the entire picture, it will all start to come together. So don't forget to draw that U shape for that big happy mouth. I'm going to draw a curve for those teeth. Now you don't have to add those teeth if you don't want to. I like to add them just so it looks a little bit more like they are really smiling while talking at the same time. And then I'm going to add a curve right there. Now before I move on to the neck and the hair, I am going to add some ear details by drawing a curve here and curve there. Now, just as a reminder, you can pause this video whenever you need to, just in case you do want to make any of those changes. Let's go ahead and add those curves down there. Now, I'm drawing a girl character. I'm going to add some earrings. Your boy character can also have earrings. And before I start on the hair, I'm actually going to be drawing the neck next. So whatever I do on the left side, I am going to be drawing on the right side as well. So I'm going to draw a curve on the left and a curve on the right. Slanted line and down for the shoulders, both on the left and the right side. Make sure that those shoulders go past those ears. We don't want to have those shoulders too small. Now this is where you can also start to design your clothes a little bit. I'm just going to add a curve here and here. But I'm going to have my character look like she's wearing a jacket. So I'm going to bring those curves down there. And 2 U-shaped curves for the shirt underneath. Now you can change your clothes up in any way you want. If you want your character to be wearing like a tank top or maybe a turtleneck, that is totally up to you. I am going to be adding a choker. You don't have to add that if you don't want to. Just make sure if you do have any of those added things, you do go in and you erase those lines there. Now my character is inspired by the style My Hero Academia, so I want my character to kind of look like a superhero. So I'm just adding a few of these little extra accessories. I would just make sure to go in and erase any of those lines that I no longer want to see. All right, so now that my character is starting to form, this is where we can go in and decide if they're a boy or a girl. My character is going to be a girl, but if you want to have a boy character, you can essentially do the same thing. You just have to add shorter hair or change that hair up. Now with anime, you want to make sure that that hair is pretty big unless you have a bald character. Best way I like to describe on how to draw that hair is you're going to be drawing upside down shark fins. So if I were to turn my paper around, this would look quite a bit like a shark fin. And I'm going to be doing this again and again for one side of the bang, and then curve down and up for the other part of the hair. So I would just make sure to go in and erase parts of those ears and the side of the head because that hair is blocking it. I'm going to start on the top of the hair, or excuse me, very top. And did you see that I made sure that I was really high up instead of super close to that forehead? So I could leave this as a boy and do those shark fin shapes, but because my character is a girl, I want to give her that nice little bob like so. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And this is where you can also start to add some strands of hair by just adding some simple lines. I'm making sure not to add too many of those lines to my hair. This is just showing the movement of the hair. We don't want to go in and draw each individual strand of hair. And you can also hold off on this step once we do start inking, but if you want to go ahead and fill that in now, you are more than welcome to. And if you'd like, you can add some eyelashes to your character as well. All right, if you're still working on your character, no worries, just keep going. You can always press pause on the video, but when you are done with your character, it should look a little something like this. So this is my character drawn entirely in pencil. Now you can leave it in pencil if you really want to. However, with this method of how we're going to be coloring our character in Procreate, I find it's best to outline it in a black pen. Now, although I do like Sharpie, I find it's a little bit thick for those lines. So I've got some nice Beyond Yo pens here. They come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and you're more than welcome to try out those different sizes. But I also have a brush pen. So I have all sorts of different pens right here that I can test out. Now, if you want to just stick with your Sharpie, you can do that. But with that pen, I like to use that because that way I get different line width in my drawing. So I can take my brush pen and outline my picture. And I'm doing this very carefully. And I'm just using the brush pen. That way I get that nice thick to thin lines, like so. So I'm just gonna, for now, outline the hair, and then I'll come back to the eyes so I can show you why I'm not going to leave them as circles. So I got that nice variation of thin to thick, which is common in anime and manga. Just make sure to have that nice steady hand. Find it's nice to just go at a good speed, not too slow. All right, let's go with the eyes now. So instead of filling in and outlining that whole circle, I actually like to go in. I'm going to start here on this side and outline and make it thicker right here. So that way it looks like that my character has eyeliner. And I'm not going to fill in this side here. Instead, I'm going to come down and make sure that it's nice and thick at the bottom corner right there. And so that way I will not fill in this part right here. I'm just going to leave that open, but I can also go in and outline those eyebrows and the eyelid. And for the eye, outline, outline, and you can also fill in that circle if you would like to, which I think I'm going to do. And I will leave it like that. Do that same thing on the other side. And outline, making sure it gets thicker at the bottom. Now, if you don't have much of a steady hand, that's okay because you can actually make some of these changes into Procreate itself. Sometimes when I find that my lines just aren't as even as I'd like them to be, I go in and redraw in Procreate. I'm just going to go ahead and fill in those eyes. And continue outlining. Anything that you do want to have black, I would recommend filling it in, but except for the larger areas, you can do that into Procreate as well. I'm just going to go ahead and outline. Then I'll just keep outlining. And don't forget those little added accessories. Now, if that brush pen is a little bit too thick, you can always switch to these pens as well. But with that liner, you want to make sure you do a nice one smooth line. All right, almost done outlining. All right, just about done. Alrighty. If you're already done with your outlining your picture, great job. If you're still working on it, no worries, just keep going. Take your time with outlining those lines. There's no rush whatsoever. And I'm going to go in and very carefully add those hairlines as well. I'm just making sure to let it flow. it's not exact like my pencil lines, that's actually okay. And if there's any of those lines that maybe you want it to be a little bit thicker, you can always grab those pens. For example, I want to go in with my circle here and make it just a little bit thicker, which is where I take one of my pens and go in and make it a bit thicker. You can do this to any area of your picture. So I got some lines right here, like so. But overall, everything looks pretty good. There's some areas you need to close off. You can do that. Now that my picture is completely outlined, I'm going to go ahead and put my pens away, take out my eraser, and hopefully your picture is dry. If it's not, maybe give it about 2 or 3 minutes for it to dry, but these are pretty fast drying pens. So I'm just taking my eraser and erasing those pencil lines. And this is important too because you will see those pencil lines in Procreate if you do not erase them. Alright, so I'm just going in and erasing. Now I'm going to go back and fix this chin a little bit. It's just a tad bit crooked, so I'm going to just try my best to fix that up as best as I can. If you need to turn your paper around just to make sure that it does look good, you can do that as well. You can even do some more complex manga shading too. That is up to you. All right, I'll go back in and erase. Again, try your best to erase those pencil lines because they will show up on Procreate. All right. Now that that is done, you're going to take your iPad. So let me just turn my iPad on. This is what we're drawing again. What you're going to do is you are going to be opening up the camera app. So there's my camera, and we're going to go in and we're going to take a picture of our character. Now I find that it's best that you can stand and do this. Try your best to go directly over, just so it's not in a wonky perspective. While you can change that perspective in Procreate, I find it's best to make sure that you get it straight on.